come back. Listen, I have heard from a lot of you, and a large portion of this audience is just coming back to art for the first time after years of not doing anything with it, and you're not exactly sure where to start. You want something easy but still challenging, and you're not sure exactly what to do. Listen, it took me a long time. Just started high school. I was going to be an artist. That's what I wanted to do. The guidance counselor said, no, look, you can't do that. You're not going to make any money. You're going to be starving on the street. You don't want to do that. And I said, well, I don't want to do that. So they said, okay, good. Then don't be an artist. Instead, if you like drawing, go into architectural drawings and drafting and that kind of stuff. Which there's nothing wrong with it. I enjoyed it, but that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to be an artist. But I gave that up. So that's what they trained me to do, is give up on my dreams. And then, like 20 years later or something like that, I started drawing again. I was like, wait a minute, why did I ever stop doing this? What was wrong with these people? It took me a long time to come back to art. It was like 2015. I came back. I said, okay, I'm going to start drawing again. And I started. It was, wow, this is great. This is amazing. I love it. It's the best decision I ever made, and I have not looked back since. And I hear a lot of you telling me that same story. You're all saying the same thing. Yeah. We stopped because our life was happening and we could not work it into our life. We didn't have the time. Some of you are raising kids. Some of you are single parents raising kids and working. And listen, I get it. And then you have to come back to the art. You have to come back to it. And then you realize, oh, this is much better. Why did I ever walk away from this? Why did I ever stop? I have no idea. I should have made time for it. You don't know what to... Listen. This video is for you because I'm going to talk to you a little bit about coming back to art and some of the things you can do and try. And one of them is what I did here. Very easy, very simple to do. It doesn't take a whole lot of skill. You just make some marks and then put in some detail, and you got some color that we'll go through the whole process. But I'm telling you, if you are just struggling, if you're not sure if you're going to come back or not, do it. You will not regret it. All right, let's get into it. Okay, now I know a lot of you have heard this story before, but I'm just going to give you a little bit more information here. So it was 2015 and something had happened. I was laid off from my job, and just for a little while, and I was wondering, what am I going to do with my time? I knew the job was coming back. It was just a couple weeks I had to wait. And so it was just, what am I going to do with this time? And I went on YouTube. I was following Owings Art for a long time here on YouTube. And that's Marty Owings. Great guy, wonderful person, just kept encouraging me to do more and more, kept encouraging me, hey, you should get your art up on YouTube if that's what you want to do. And I said, well, maybe I do want to do that. He said, yeah, go ahead and do that. And I was just thinking about it. I got a little camcorder that sucked, by the way. I couldn't use my phone. It was not that time yet. I didn't have a good phone to record any video. It was just terrible video on the phone. So I said, okay, look, I'll get a little camcorder thing. That was terrible video. It wasn't even full HD. It wasn't 1080. It was like 720. And it doesn't matter. I still have that thing. It still works. Anyway, I really wanted to get into it. I started drawing and painting and getting some things going. I figured, okay, look, I've got to get back into it and really know what I'm doing before I go on YouTube. I don't want to tell people a bunch of stuff and just not have any idea what I'm doing. And you see how well that worked out. But so I decided, look, I'm going to get back into art, finish doing what I'm doing. And I started looking at his art and seeing that he did a lot of line and wash stuff. I liked Peter Schiller and Mind of Watercolor, and just started watching everything that I could about art and trying to figure out what's my style. What am I going to do when I get the chance to do it? What am I going to do? And I just started working at it and getting back into it. And every time I did something, I just fell in love with it all over again. I would just do a pencil drawing and be like, oh wow, I love pencil drawing. Even though I don't like the smudgy graphite and I get my whole hand just full of garbage. Anyway, that doesn't matter. Then I would try ink and say, wow, I love ink. I can draw with ink. That's great. Then I'd get watercolor. Wow, I can do watercolor. I can't believe it. And I got into pastel pencils and color pencil and the graphitint stuff. And then I got into the ink tint stuff. And anything I could get my hands on. I got the gouache and the acrylic and anything I could get my hands on. I would just try and work with it, and I would love it every little step of the way. And I hope that's the point that you're at. And I hope you never come out of that point. I am not out of that at all. Every time I look at something, every time I pick something up and try something new, I absolutely love to do it. And that's just something that is so, I can't imagine where my life would be right now if I never got back into art. I never had that back in my life and got to express myself the way that I am now. I hope you're experiencing that. I hope that's the point that you're at. You always stay there. But if you are just coming back to art, or you're just thinking about coming back to art, I promise you it is so worth the effort. It's so worth the time. It's an experience that is very hard to explain. If you are a creator, it just bubbles up from out inside you, and it bubbles out. You have to put something down on paper. You eventually have to do it. And I used to do, even when I wasn't doing art, I would do little doodles here and there, like, oh, I want to draw this little emblem for something else I'm doing, or draw this little logo or something, and I would get into it when I did it. I just never followed up with it. I just never really kept going. And so I started looking at easy things to do. So what I did was I started with the pencil thing and the pen, and then got into watercolor, and that was not bad. The problem was I wasn't using the tools properly. I didn't have anything good for watercolor, so I started painting watercolor on Bristol paper. That was dumb. I should have never done that. I didn't understand what was happening with anything. I had never watercolored before, so, I mean, except when you're like, 3 and 4 years old. But before then, I never did that. Since then, I never did that. That's what I meant to say. And so I wanted to do, it was terrible, it was coming out bad. I'm like, oh, this is horrible. I started looking at people, what are they using? Oh, okay, they use this book, and I'd use it, and I'd try and put five layers, 6 layers on something, and it was just tearing up the page. I'm like, oh no, this isn't any good, but that other paper is too expensive, I can't use that. And then I got that paper, and I started using that watercolor paper, and I was like, oh, wait, hold on a second. I can't use anything except this now, because everything else I was using is falling apart. This isn't falling apart. I understand. I get the correlation there. I got to use this now. But everything that I've done and experimented with, I just tried to make it the easiest thing possible, but the most fun and most entertaining for me, so that when I'm doing it, I'm actually entertained. I do it. I'm like, oh, wow, that's cool. Oh, look at that. That's pretty cool. Oh, look, I did this. And every day it's just something new with the art. I promise you, if you're thinking about it, do it, and if you're just got back into it, keep going. Sometimes it's hard to figure out if you should keep going. Maybe you're stuck or not really in a good place with it. Just keep going. I promise you it's worth it. Make it fun for yourself. Make it something that is just something you can't live without. And just keep going with it, because I promise you it's worth it. It's just, talk to anybody else. If you know anybody else who's an artist, ask them if it's worth it. I guarantee you they will say yes. They will say yes. Not only is it worth it, I can't imagine my life without it. So come on back to art. Get back into it. Do something like what I'm doing here. Very easy. I just washed the whole background, and then I took this brush pen and I just went over the top and made some shapes. And then I went in with a fine liner and just connected some of the shapes, just connected some of the dots. Then you go in with a white pen. Then I put in some highlights. This was easy. This didn't take a very long time. It wasn't very quick, but it didn't take a very long time. It was fairly quick. You could do this in one sitting. If you have a half hour, you can sit down and do something like this. No problem. The longest time is the background drying. So maybe prep the page one day, and then come back to it and put in all the ink the next day. It's very easy, and it's fun to do, and you can just scribble away, and maybe it looks interesting to you the way that you do it. Maybe not. Maybe you have to do it a few times and figure something else out. But I'm telling you, just come back to it. Do something simple that you like. That's something that you can look at and say, okay, I just started again, but I'm already happy with what I'm doing. That's an important thing to do. But if you can do that, then everything else will fall into place. Alright, so thumb up the video if you're going to try something like this. If you're going to do this and get into it, and you're not going to stop. You're going to keep going even if you don't like what you do. Just keep going. Eventually, I promise you, you'll love it, and it'll be a wonderful and even if you don't like what you did, just enjoy the time you're doing it. Put on some music, listen to an audio tape, watch a movie, just do whatever while you're doing it. Get in some kind of zone that you have to get into, and just keep scribbling away. It's a wonderful thing. Alright, if you would like to join our community, go to illustrationsbypete.com. You can come in, you can put your own artwork on the site and promote it. You can find some inspiration in the free reference photos. You can just use them however you want in your artwork. You do not need to credit me. Or you can come into the forums and talk to some people and maybe give some advice and maybe find a little bit of information that helps you. So come check us out. Alright, that's about it for me. I'm going to go. I'll see you in the next one.